Um, I hope you can hear me. Editing Rochelle here. Who's recording with my laptop mic because my other one is currently packed. I didn't realize until I finally started editing all of my Stranger Things episodes and an upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's 2 review that my entire audio is fucked. It sounds really weird, so I apologize in advance. Yep, enjoy the video.
Hi. I'm gonna apologize in advance. Someone is using an electric snowblower outside. So if you can hear a noise, that's what that is. Um, but welcome to my review for the second episode of Stranger Things. I managed to watch it today and I took notes. So maybe there will be less rambling this time around, or I doubt it, but because for example, one thing that I forgot to point out last time, which I feel like I didn't notice as much, but I was paying more attention to the plot than anything else, was that like for the first episode, the sound design was interesting, and the fact that like some parts were just really loud. I felt like for no reason. I think it kind of happened in this episode too, but it like made sense. Like in this episode for like the scene where Nancy's like washing her hands, like it made sense for her to like touch the soap thing, the soap dispenser, and for it to be loud because it's like, if you're in a traumatized state like she was, like it makes sense for like all your senses to be heightened in a very specific way. But like I remember specifically in the first episode, like a locker closing that was loud, but I'm like, nah, that's fine, whatever. But there was like a scene where I think someone like sets like a can of Coke down and it was like unnecessarily loud, and I'm like, I don't get it. And I do know that that's, if I remember correctly, that's something that happens in the previous seasons where it's like things are just abnormally loud when it comes to like Foley for no apparent reason. I'm like, why are all these added like sounds of like closing things and putting things down and touching things so loud? But like I felt like I had to mention it because I forgot to do it last time around. Um, but yeah, moving on to the actual episode. It was interesting. I liked it. I loved the intro, like the beginning of the episode. I thought it was really interesting. I think one of it is that it's like, Mike and Nancy's parents has always been there, but it's like, they're the Wheelers are the example of a nuclear family that's not actually happy about being a nuclear family. Like they are the nuclear family. Like Nancy talks about how it's like her mom wanted the family at the end of the like cul-de-sac and a nice big house, and like it's kind of clear that I don't think Karen Wheeler works, and Ted's the one that goes and makes the money, and it's like he sleeps on his lazy boy like recliner chair all the time. He's like the dad that falls asleep at like 8 p.m. and he's got 3 kids and he doesn't really pay attention to any of them. He doesn't know where any of them are at any time, and like Karen is very unhappy in her marriage. Like she almost has an affair in season 3 and stuff like that. Like she clearly just is unhappy in her marriage, and it continues throughout this season 2, where it's just like in the previous episode, it's like Holly has this supposed imaginary friend, and like Karen's very like jarred and upset by it because Holly is very clearly like quote unquote too old to have an imaginary friend at this point. And then you have Ted, who like doesn't really care, and they get into arguments, and like it makes Holly upset. And then with the beginning of this episode, it's like they sort of, I guess in a way, like it starts out with like Holly being attacked and the two of them not noticing. Like Ted's shooting golf balls in his backyard and Karen's drunkenly starting a bath, and they can't even hear their own child screaming for help in her room. But then that all sort of changes when like Holly runs to the bathroom. Like both of them, like Karen and Holly, hide in the water from the Demogorgon, and then Ted notices that something's wrong and like physically attempts to attack the Demogorgon with a golf club, which I was like, I literally wrote down, I was like, Ted wasn't useless for once, and then kind of, because then he immediately gets his ass kicked. Meanwhile, damn Karen's a badass and like beats the shit out of this Demogorgon with like, good for Karen. I love that for her, and like I thought that was really interesting. I kind of like that they might actually start bringing the parents into the situation, which is really interesting. Because I think first off, it will make Joyce and Hopper very happy to not have to like be the ones to constantly have to deal with everything. Like they can bring some more adults into the foreground of what's happening, and maybe they won't have to like fight all the other adults in the world with all of this, which I think will be very relieving for them. I mean, part of it was that like at the end of season one, they like try and convince the Wheelers that Elle was a communist and that like she was a dangerous person, which is why like Nancy and Mike never actually told their parents about anything, and they deeply regret that now. Like Nancy might get into a fight, being like, "We should have told them. Like we should have done something sooner." Um, but yeah, it's just I thought it was really interesting. And then, like, right after that, I absolutely loved the hand washing scene. I love hand washing, and that's a weird thing to say, but like, hand washing scenes in terms of like someone has blood on their hands and they're trying to get it off, because there's usually like one of two ways, which is like it's someone you love or it's someone you just murdered. And in this case, it's like Nancy is like trying to wash the blood, like her mother's blood, off of her hands, and it's done really well. And then throughout the whole episode, she's still like completely covered in her mom's blood, and like how utterly traumatizing that is. In a way, like bringing in like the sound design again, where like everything is really loud, like as if like it's sort of like her brain can't like make it shut up. Like when you go through something traumatizing like that, it's like it's hard to wrap your senses around those kinds of things. It's like the blood feels like too much. It's like trying to like clean your hands with soap, but like the water's too loud. Touching the soap dispenser's too loud, and I like loved it about that scene. Or it's like the background sort of like staticky sound that they added into that scene, where it's just like your brain is so fuzzy and so discombobulated because like everything is too loud because you went through a very traumatizing scene like thing all of a sudden, and just being able to like work around that. And I absolutely loved that scene. Like I thought it was really well done. I thought that what's her, I don't remember the actress's name, but like I thought that the actress who played Nancy did a really good job of like showing how distressed she was and like dealing with it and everything like that. Oh, the scene where Jonathan and Steve are essentially like shitting on each other because like Steve is like, we should go and visit Nancy. Both Jonathan and I said the word Jesus Christ at the same time, where he's like, we could, the hospital's on the way. We could stop by Flowers. And I just went, Jesus Christ. And Jonathan said it at the same time. I just started laughing. But very much, I mean, the scene kind of went both ways, where I was like, Jonathan has every right to yell at Steve, being like, hey, like, why are you essentially openly trying to, like, hit on my girlfriend? And Steve is like, why are you being so jealous all the time? And I think it's like very much that dynamic where it's like Steve does, I think, have to realize that he I don't think he know he I think he knows, but he might not truly realize it, that he is very clearly trying to like get back with Nancy. It's obvious to the audience. It might not be obvious to him, but it's obvious to the audience. But I will say, like, Jonathan, especially with the first episode where they're both like competing to literally climb to the top of the tower. Like, first off, you should not be racing to do that. That tower was very high, but like climbing to the top of this tower to like impress Nancy and like be like, she's still my girlfriend, and it's like, just stop thinking with your dicks, both of you. Like, it's just annoying. And it's just because I think it just like makes Steve unbearable, and it makes me hate Jonathan more than I already do. I've never really liked Jonathan as a character. I just think he's annoying, but like the fact that in this like season so far, it's like his only thing for his character is that he's a jealous boyfriend is just really annoying. Like, I just find it so annoying. Like, the only times I really like Jonathan as a character is when he interacts with Will, because he's such a good brother to Will, and then you have everything else about him where he's literally stalking Nancy. Like, that's what he does in season one. He literally stalks her, and then like getting in a relationship with her and like being kind of a shitty boyfriend throughout that entire relationship, and it like continuing here where he's just so jealous of her, and it's like he wants to get in contact with Hopper, which like, yeah, but also in Steve's defense, like, your girlfriend's parents are unconscious in a hospital right now. You should probably go to said hospital and comfort her. So, like, I thought that scene was so interesting. And then, of course, I didn't write anything down about it, but, like, Dustin shows up and, like, he gets in a fight with Steve, and it very much, like, yeah, like, Dustin should calm down a bit when it comes to getting in these fights with people. Like, it's not going to do anything good. It literally is going to hurt him more than anybody else and stuff like that. But I just, at the same time, it's like Steve does have a habit of just like relying on everybody else, like in terms of like the technology. Like, yeah, it's Dustin's technology, but like he should learn how to use it just as well in the chance that like Dustin's not there, or like their plans rely on each other, which I think is a good thing. But when it comes to something that big, like if someone can't make it for some reason, it sort of puts the whole plan on pause and they can't like fulfill it. And I think that, like, especially with how the first episode happens, like it becomes a problem. Then Jonathan has to step up and use the radio instead of Dustin because Dustin wasn't there. And in a way, it's like, yeah, no, not just Steve should be the one to figure that stuff out, but it is sort of like I don't know, in a way, he's always kind of been like that, where it's like he does kind of rely on Dustin, but I think he's also just been like, I don't know where this thought was going, but I think he's also just been like, he finds Dustin as a good friend, and I like it's a weird relationship in a way, but like I think it's a good one at the same time. So I feel like, but at this, I think with this is just that like Dustin is hurting, and he's acting out in a way that he normally doesn't, and I think that Steve really just needs to like sit down and be like, I understand, like it really sucks what happened to Eddie, but like you can talk about it, and it seems like Dustin never does. And I think that's where like this plot is gonna go, where it's like Dustin's finally gonna come out and be like, talk about how much Eddie dying truly hurt him, but he just sort of pushes everybody else away and like puts on this like tough demeanor, which is I think an interesting way, but like it's gonna bite him in the ass so much. Like he's gonna lose his friends over it. Like he's gonna get, I mean, he's already hurt, but he's gonna get even more hurt because of it. So it's just, I don't know. It's something interesting. I'm like starting to see where all the subplots are going, and some of them I'm like, okay, and the other ones I'm like, not really. And I'm like, I'm afraid for this one. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm like, it can't be good. Whatever's happening, it can't be good. Um, but yeah, oh yeah, that was my other note. What was it her name? Her name's Dr. K. Whoever Sarah Connor, the doctor, who's also, I'm pretty sure that's Sarah Connor from Terminator. But I think unlike the other rest of the military, like I have the theory that I don't think she like wants to catch Elle to kill her like everybody else in the military does. I think she like truly understands that Elle is not the one doing any of this, but that she needs Elle's help to stop stuff from happening. I don't know. It's they're just weird scenes to point out, and she very clearly is like not. I don't know. It's just a theory, but like I think that from seeing what's happening, the show wants to pin her as a villain, but like she doesn't seem to come across as one. Like it seems very much like she's got a different mindset than the other military guy whose name I do not remember. But like he very much wants to kill Elle. He's been wanting to kill Elle since last season. But I think I think her name is Dr. K. But like she seems more on like actually wanting to have a discussion with Elle than just straight up trying to shoot her. So there's that. I don't know. It's just a theory that I have so far. So we'll see on that. And then shortly after that, like I'm so glad that Elle and Hop like had a heart to heart, and it didn't end with Elle running away again. Where like Hop admits like he's like because of what happened to Sarah and like what has happened in the past, like he's just worried for Elle's safety, and like I'm glad they managed to have sort of that heart to heart, like unlike season two, because I was worried that like it was gonna end with season two where like they get in a huge fight and Elle runs away or like does something stupid and gets hurt or something like that. And this one's like they solved that pretty quickly, being like, you know, like I don't want you to do anything because I don't want you to get hurt. And then she's like, I understand, but also like you can't do this on your own. Um, and then just I wrote in stubborn punk ass because it made me chuckle. I'm just like stubborn punk ass. I was like, yeah, sounds about right for both of them. They're both stubborn punk asses, and I love it. My other silly note was flux capacitor. The moment Robin said it, I was laughing, and then later on, when when Joyce is asking the group in the van, being like, "Are you having issues with the flux capacitor?" and they all know that doesn't exist. And I don't know. I doubt they actually told her. They're like, shit's happening, and we're not gonna piss Joyce off. But I laughed so hard. I was just like, flux capacitor. I loved it so much. It made me laugh so hard, and I loved it. What other notes that I had giant flesh wall, which immediately reminded me of the wall from Game of Thrones. I like looked at it and I was like, so it's the wall from Game of Thrones. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was like, oh, it's the wall from Game of Thrones. And then from the end of the episode, I was like, so that's where Vecna lives, and that's where he's putting everybody else. It's like it's his mind. It's the fleshy mind thing, because like that's clearly where Holly is from like the end of the episode, but like crying from thinking about flux capacitor. But like, I don't know. It just yeah. I was like, yeah, it's a Game of Thrones wall. It's just a giant wall, but it's fleshy instead of icy, I guess. But yeah, like it's Vecna's giant wall where he's kidnapping people and putting them, I guess, but like they're in their own heads or they're in his head. I guess in a way, because she's very clearly in the Creel house, but it's a nice version of the Creel house and not abandoned. So there's that. And then Henry Creel being Mr. What's It, which I got spoiled for, so I was not surprised when that occurred at all. I was like, oh, so this is where they're revealing, because thanks to TikTok, I've managed, I think, to avoid all of their spoilers so far for the first 4 episodes, but I did get spoiled for that, so I wasn't thoroughly shocked. I was like, oh, I know who Mr. What's It is. So I was like, well, there's the reveal. I'm glad it happened in the first 2 episodes, and that way, like, I don't know what's happening for the other 2. So I'm like, well, at least we've gotten that out of the way. And now Vecna's on his way to kidnap a bunch of other school children, for his fun school needs. I don't understand his thought process. Like, I know he wants to destroy the world. I don't understand why kidnapping all these kids is the reason for it, but I'm sure that will get explained. I don't know. But yeah, so far I liked the second episode. It made me laugh a hell of a lot more than the first one. But yeah, I really liked it. The questions are forming and the theories are forming, and I'm like very much like I wanna watch the other 2 episodes. I hope you liked this review. I hope there was structure. I feel like there was less structure in this with the notes than there is without the notes, but I'm not sure. So yeah, stay tuned for more Stranger Things. Until then, bye.